But I think when you're writing, you are setting the tone for your legacy from now until.
Jump, you're ready now. Jump, the sky's the limit. Jump, jump, jump. Leave it all behind and jump. Just go for it. Jump, if you can dream it. Jump, jump, jump. Together we can do all things.
Hey guys, so happy to be back here for Jump. Jump to the life of your dreams, and here is your host, Rebeca. So today I am so excited to bring my friend Jevon Bolden, because she's an editor, she's a writer, and she is incredible. And it's really help us, especially the people that feel called to write. And I know a lot of my friends, they do. And she just helps you, just give you some guidance. So this podcast is definitely a podcast right now. This episode is about guidance. She also just completed her book, 21 Days of Fasting and Prayer for Breakthrough in Your Writing. The name of her book is Pray, Hear, and Write. Oh man, is it exciting or what? So also, she has been doing so many different things with writing. And as you listen to this podcast, you will hear valuable tools for you that wants to do this. So also, she also has a website and a blog. And she will share, just how important it is that you write, that you leave your legacy. So anyway, I'm excited to bring Jevon Bolden to Jump. Oh my goodness, how exciting. Jevon, it's such a joy to have you at Jump Podcast. Welcome.
Yes, thank you so much, Rebecca. We go way back. You are such a dear friend. We have hugged and cried and prayed and wished and hoped and dreamed together for years. And it is so great to be on this podcast with you today.
No, it brings me back flashbacks. I was looking at the picture of your kids. I just asked you, how did that happen? And then watch you just unveil all this gift out to the world. It was so beautiful. But the fun fact about this is you sing at my wedding.
Yes, yes, my husband and I sang at your wedding.
You got
very, very nice.
Yes, you guys did it, and I remember it was so. I value so much every single person that was there, because back in the time I had no family in the country. Right. I was completely by myself, and I value just that feeling of belonging as a family.
Yes.
And you were there, and I remember that Josh's family members, they came to me and they said, "Do you contract professional singers? How can you even afford that?" And then it was, for me, it was like, they are professional, they are amazing, and they are my friends, and I treasure that so very much. That's one of the highlights of my life. The music that you sing, you're so gifted. But I am excited to bring you to the podcast because I just told you 95% of my friends wants to write a book. And for those that don't want to write a book, I'll have to tell their stories some way, somehow. Yes. Because the stories are incredible and cannot die. Mm-hmm. And I feel like you are the connector, for that desire, the ancient desire that people have about writing a book. And I think having you here today is such a gift, because if you listen to this will help you so much if you have a message to share. Yes. And with the world, Jevon is here to just help you out, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So take us back. How did you got into this thing about let me help you write a book, and how did you got into this field?
So, so I've been writing all my life and not really, thinking much of it. It's just always been a way for me to, examine my own thoughts. So really writing for me started, I mean, maybe before around elementary school age, maybe younger. I don't know. Cause my mom is so great. I was learning to read and write before I went into school. So, but that just became a way for me to just kind of explore my internal thoughts and really just kind of figure out how, what I thought about things. So there's this quote that says, I don't know, something like, I don't even know what I think until I've written. And that is so me. And so I went through school and everything with that gift and with that desire to write for myself. And it wasn't until, so I was on a whole other career path. I was going to be a neurosurgeon.
What?
Yes, I was on that path. I was in college doing pre-med biology. And something was just like, is this really what I want to do for the rest of my life? Is this where I want to be? Is this what I want to spend my money, my time, my education, everything on? Is this really what I want to do? And the answer came back, no, this is not what you want to do.
Wow.
It wasn't that I was doing bad at it at all. I just, so I kind of went back to obviously praying, seeking the Lord. That's one of my first and most important things. I want to do what God wants for me, what he specifically designed me for. And he of course, I was probably writing. I was probably making a list. I was probably writing in my journal. And I thought back to the times when I was most happy in class, most happy in high school, and what classes I didn't skip. Because
right.
Classes, I did very well in school, but I did manage to skip some classes. I made it a point to skip classes. But anyway. Wow. The one I would not miss were my literature classes, English literature. So I said, you know what? What if I go against so I didn't say this. So I was in a culture of well-educated Black people. I was in a little oasis in the South in Alabama, Huntsville, Alabama, at a historically Black college and university. And so in this community, which I know a lot of people of color and others will recognize, you don't do anything except be a doctor, lawyer. Wow. You go to school, you get your education, and you become a professional so you can make some money and help, reach back into your community.
Right.
So switching to something artistic is like, what are you doing with yourself? Don't, so, but I made the risk because I just believed that God was going to sustain, he was going to provide, and it was going to be something I'd be passionate about for my whole life. So I switched my major from pre-med biology to English literature and with a minor in sociology. And it was one of the best decisions I ever made. After college, I applied to a million different places trying to figure out what I was supposed to do with my degree. I didn't even know when I changed. Wow. And I got my first job as a copy editor at a publisher in Florida. And I'm still here almost 20 years later.
Wow.
And, so, yeah, that's basically my story. That's basically what happened. And so since then, I've just been working in book publishing, Christian book publishing. And in November 2017, I left. My last job was at Scholastic as a senior editor, the largest children's book publisher, and launched my company and stepped out on my own because of the demand. God is so good. The demand of people really wanting to publish books. And it's just been a joy and a pleasure to serve them in that capacity. So that's basically, it's risen out of my own passion. And then connecting with other people who are so passionate as well.
Oh, it's so amazing because it says that in your website, which we're going to be having the link into the show notes, but in the website says author's best friend. Yeah. And it's truly because the authors always feel stuck. They
Yes.
have a message, they have the books, and they're like, but I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
There's so many information that makes them confused.
Yes.
Like, okay, what do I do here?
Yeah.
And it's truly a calling that you get to be this bridge,
Yes.
this bridge of hope to the message of what people have to share. So, as in your website says, Asian editor and writer.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about the Asian process. So the Asian process means like you represent authors, and I also know that you have bestseller books. So give us an example what that looks like.
Okay, so yes, so part of my experience has been to work with best-selling authors because of, like I said, working in traditional publishing. We can kind of break down the different types of publishing. There are people who are traditionally published, and then there are people who publish independently or do self-publishing. My experience has been the bulk of my experience. What has given me the ability to help people at any level is because I served in traditional book publishing for 14 years.
Wow.
So that's critically important, I think, when you're looking for someone to help you, looking for someone to come alongside you. You really want somebody who understands the industry, who understands reader preferences, who understands trends, and who understands what or how to gear your message toward an audience that's engaged and ready to just like read. Mm-hmm. So you don't, in other words, that's kind of like what I mean by is understanding how to set your target audience and then write to them. And so that's been what I've done for all these years, helping authors who have great messages, huge platforms, but maybe are not able to effectively know who their target audience is and write to them. So that's the bulk of my experience. And so as an agent, I am taking that experience where I was acquiring books, acquiring new authors, looking for new voices or help developing veteran voices. So as an agent, I'm doing basically the same thing, but I'm not loyal to any particular publishing house. I'm able to represent authors to a number of publishing houses and help them get a publishing contract, a publishing deal. So that's what an agent does. They really, they use their own connections and resources to get authors published. And then when it comes to, I think that's basically what you're asking. So that's basically what a literary agent does. They look for the best and brightest, and they represent them to book publishers.
Do the people come to you, or do you choose them?
So that can happen both ways, actually. I can be pretty proactive because I sometimes am looking. I'm very active in social media. So in your show notes, in the show notes, people will probably get a chance to connect with me that way. I'm very active in social media. So I'm paying attention to who's saying what. I do travel some as well. So part of my acquisitions is proactive on my part. The other part is people can go to my website and submit a query for representation. I am looking for specific topics as far as representing them to traditional publishing. And that is basically because that's where my connections lie. And my goal is to represent my authors well. And if I can't serve you well, it would be better for you to, of course, get another agent. There are lots of agents. And so, yeah, so pitching according to what my criteria is important, because then you'll know that I am able to help you,
So just so we understand, so if you like write children's book, how do the people find agent? Just Google agent. That's how they do.
So there are a couple of websites. First of all, Writer's Digest has an agent portal where Writer's Digest is a great resource. Another place is, so like I said, writersdigest.com is a great place. I believe you can actually I'll post, for Christian, if you're looking for Christian agents and such, I actually have a small guide to publishers Christian publishers, Christian agents, and Christian writers conferences. I'll give the link to you.
Oh, that's such a gift.
Yeah,
wow.
Everybody can go right there, and there's like a huge like database for all those things.
That's amazing. Yeah. Thank you. You're so generous and beautiful and loving. You really are.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. All right, so let's jump in and talk about your editor part of your business.
So with editing, that's where, so I've done that most of my career. Right now, because I'm gonna have to mix this up, Rebecca.
That's okay. That's okay.
I also ghostwrite. So
yeah,
for the most part, ghostwriting takes up the majority of my time. And so I'm not editing as much as I used to.
Okay.
But I do have a wonderful team of freelancers that
awesome.
I help, bring on to help the authors that need help. I do still give editorial direction. I still do connect with the authors as much as I'm able. But as far as editing, there are a few different types of editing. And so there is a process to getting published, to writing, to editing. And it starts, of course, with you writing your book. So you need to write your book, creatives out there. The first thing is on you. Of course, you can get help. One of the things that editors can do is come alongside you and either coach you through the process, which is something I do. That's actually more what I do now than actual editing. I coach authors, writers through the writing process. It could be once at the beginning, once at the end. Some have me booked every month, and they're submitting new material every month, and I review it and give them feedback right on the spot to make sure they're staying making sure that they continue to write to their audience. And stick to their outline that we came up with together. And then once the book is written, then it needs to go to an editor. And there's a first phase of editing called content or substantive editing. That's the big picture, making sure they're logically and adequately made. They're making sure that you're following the flow of the outline, making sure that it's connected to your target audience. The next level of editing is copy editing. Those are your small details. That's grammatical things. That's spelling. That's details. That's fact checking sometimes. That's making sure your sentences are readable and clear. And then the final phase of editing is proofreading, which happens after the book has been laid out or typeset, formatted, whatever you want to call it, just before it goes to the printer. That is your final quality check. All I's are dotted and T's are crossed.
Wow.
So I recommend that authors go through those steps of editing if quality is important to them. So, which it should be, because there's your name on there. Just like you care very much about the pieces that you create, the songs you write, the lettering that you do, whatever it is, your book should carry that same level of excellence, so that your audience can continue to connect with your brand that's excellent, if that makes sense. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. And I'm excited because jumping into now you're an author yourself. Okay. Oh my gosh. Drums, please. This is exciting because not only your first thing, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. Because we have a 14-year gap here. So they say you should write a book. You have this book, right?
Yeah, so I have an ebook that I did for first-time authors, because I think what happens to a lot of us is that people will hear us talk or they'll see us do our thing and we're just flowing and creative and beautiful, and all of a sudden someone's like, "Oh my gosh, you should write a book," and we're like, "What?"
Yeah,
so sometimes writing a book for a lot of people starts there. Either they've shared a story or something, and somebody says you should write that in a book. So that's why I titled the book, So They Say You Should Write a Book. But it's for first-time authors to learn how to write a book that people will both buy and read. Some people are concerned, sometimes we we understand that people may buy it, but we want them to read the good things that we've written, some of the experiences that we've, like you said earlier, we don't want these stories to die. And a great way to do that is to put it in a book and have people read it. So that book is a step-by-step guide.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
That's exciting. And actually, I read it as soon as you posted. I read it right away. I was like, my gosh, that's amazing. It's like, I thought I knew you work with books, but I was like, this is amazing. The platform that you're going towards, it's so needed. And it's just, and you're such a good leader to guide people. Say, no, this is how you get guide. And of course, your writing is just so good, professional. It's like this. It's almost like, like butter in the bread is like so.
Oh yeah, so good.
But it's so good,
Thank you.
Now I'm excited when I saw on Facebook that you have a new book.
Yes.
My gosh, and I love the look of the book. The first thing that I see is the looks.
Yes.
As a visual artist, right?
Yes.
I love the looks, and I was like, ooh. And then when I saw what you wrote there, I was like, pray, hear, and write. I was like, wait a second. This is so good, because so many of us, we pray, we hear, and we do nothing.
Yes.
And even in action, and write is also one of the actions.
It is.
And then years has passed, 10, 20 years, and there's still that little voice of that command that you just decide to avoid because you just think that you're not capable, that you can afford, or so many reasons. Tell us about this book, because the title is so deeply effective, but tell us about, why did you wrote this book?
So it's called, as you said, Pray, Hear, Write, 21 Days of Prayer and Fasting for Breakthrough in Your Writing. I will say this book was not first an idea to share with anyone. As I mentioned, I've worked for a long time with quite a few best-selling authors. And one of the roles that I had while I was at the publishing house was to bring forward messages from these wonderful men and women that were sometimes hard for them to communicate. So if it's hard for them to grasp and pull together and communicate, it was hard for me as well as their editor. And so a lot of the authors wrote in a vein that we call prophetic, where they're actually hearing from the Lord for certain revelations from the Bible or from different religious experiences. And so part of my process, it could be very challenging, because I usually took on some of the harder edits, some of the harder projects, lots of book doctoring, lots of writing. And I felt ill-equipped sometimes. I didn't have all the resources that I felt like I needed. So what I did was ask God for help during those times. And one of the things that I think is a very effective method of getting the confidence and the help that you need, psychology experts recommend it as well. So we call them affirmations or confessions or declarations, depending on what your spiritual background is. And for me, I developed some of those for myself, and they came from the Bible. Things like, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Things like, I'm going to actually, from the book, I have many of those type of prayers and declarations and affirmations and confessions to help me through the editing process of some of the most difficult projects that I've worked on, probably still to date. But as I was praying those one day, I was really, really in distress. And praying through that stuff, I was like, I bet other people go through this too. And so I released, I made a a blog post out of them and put them on my blog. And so many people were just like, oh my gosh, this is such a blessing. This is such a blessing. So good. Thank you. Thank you. And so then I also have recently become an administrator of a pretty large writing group. And I started to just post prayers and thoughts and prayer prompts and different things like that on that Facebook page, sort of out of this same vein. And I think I did it for like 40 days or so or more. And so much breakthrough, so much help, so much encouragement, so much motivation for the writers in that group. And I was like, I bet I don't know. I know this is all God. I could say it's me if I want to, but I would be so wrong. Creativity comes from the Creator, and we're just doing what we do because we're made in His image. I pulled those things together. I said, I wonder if I could do a book. And then all of a sudden, all of my writing experience, some of the things that I've done as a practice myself, I know that writing every day matters. I know that one of the best methods for breaking through writer's block is what a practice called morning pages.
I read her book.
Yeah.
Julia.
So pulling together those practices into one: prayer, fasting, because we're also talking about breaking through our own mind, our own limitations. We set up limitations for ourselves.
Right.
We can sort of talk ourselves out of believing that we have the capability and the strength, the ability to create what experience, whatever it is, to do some of the great things that we have on our hearts and minds to do. So, some of the things that we need to break through that is to actually, pray or fast or whatever it is. So fasting as a spiritual biblical practice is what I'm getting at. Of course, there's dietary fasting, but I'm not talking about that. So I pulled all of those elements together, and I have a 21-day guide. I give some instruction. I give some spiritual instruction. I also have lots of great resources in the back where you can log all of your book ideas and just keep track of the prayer requests and things that you place before the Lord, before God. And so in this book, you are taken on a 21-day journey through just writing what God speaks to you and then putting it into action, as you said earlier. So that's it. The testimonies for this book just keep coming in. If you follow me on Instagram or on Facebook, you would have seen some of the testimonies, some of the posts that people have made about the book. It's just been so incredible, so overwhelming. I am completely humbled at the way this book is really changing writers' lives, creatives' lives. There are people who are not writers who are really being empowered by this book. Just like you said, it's not only just pray here, but it's also to write, to do, to take action, to follow your dreams, to be brave, to be bold, to step out. So it's just been a complete and total blessing. I'm so, so very grateful that something that God did for me is benefiting others. I'm so grateful.
Wow. And now, Jevon, you have been going to conferences and speaking, and wow.
Yes.
What a gift that is, huh?
Yes. So grateful.
So are you accepting invitations if somebody's putting together a conference?
Of course. Absolutely. Wow. I'm starting to get some invitations for 2020. I can put, you can go to my website, click on booking to request me if you'd like. Yeah.
Right. Request for you to come. If you come to Colorado, I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
If you need somebody to put together, let me know. I'll do whatever it takes. Whatever it takes to bring you to Colorado, because
that would be so great. So I have friends in Colorado too. So
I believe you do. Yeah. You probably have friends in every piece on earth.
I don't know. I might.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sure you do. I have to say this to you. You're so gifted in just communicating so clear. You're so good on that.
Great.
So the last question I have, I would love to keep you here forever, and I definitely want to bring you back because I think this is so remarkable, great, and for those that are listening, I think that you have to do something about it, and God is literally placing people like Jevon to help you out. And why do you think that right matters? Why do you think that is important? Because, you know?
Yeah. Writing changes the world. It really
Wow.
does. I mean, when we think about what we're reading now that we're still breaking apart and looking at and examining, I mean, we have books that we're reading still today. Not, and I don't mean only the Bible, because of course the Bible is, a very significant piece to history in the history of the world. But when we think about like pieces that we're still reading now from, Shakespeare and ancient Greek times, there's wonderful African writings. There's wonderful ancient, Latin writings. And there's writings from all across time and history that are enabling us to share our stories, and not only our stories, but our cultures, our things that make us unique and special. I mean, things that help people understand us, the things that connect us as humans, the things that help to do away with hatred and do away with separation and do away with things that cause us to judge and malign each other. I mean, writing has been so significant. Now, I will say that writing can be used to sway minds, can be used to sway impressions of things. So writing has been used. It's almost like money. It's a tool.
Yes.
Money can be used for evil and good. Writing can be used for evil and good. I've read some pretty harsh writing that really changed the way we see each other as humans. But I think when you're writing, you are setting the tone for your legacy from now until.
I know.
From now until we as humans, we are tracking our own history. I mean, whether we put it on paper, we're just not. I think I was going to say something about the idea that papyrus, what was once on scrolls, eventually was put on a printing press to published as books. Then books became digitalized, where we have ebooks and audiobooks, and we're just continuously keeping record of our existence on the earth. And I think that's so powerful when you think about people reading you 50 years from now, 100 years from now. I don't know how, what we're looking at as far as time on this earth, but, it's just I think it's so powerful when you think about a lot of us want to be significant, want to make a mark, want to leave a legacy for family and generations. One of the best ways to do that is to write it down, write your story, write your thoughts, write your impressions. That's why I love blogs so much. They allow you to quickly and informally share your part in this world. You don't have to necessarily have a book. I don't know that everybody is meant to write a book. I don't know that. But there are so many ways to share your story. And I just think it's just extremely powerful in leaving a legacy.
Wow.
It's almost like Rebeca was here. It's almost like a message like that. Or Jevon was here.
Yeah.
Michael was here. Sharon was here.
Yeah. It's so true.
Think about I love your art. I have just been so blessed to see what you've done also. And so we're seeing you're leaving a whole mark on this world just even by doing that. And I think you're sharing your story in that way. And of course, I would love to see you do a book so you're almost duplicating yourself also when you write.
Yeah, no, you're right. Oh my goodness.
Yourself in another format, so other people can get a taste of who you are.
Oh, that's amazing. You're right. And you will see them coming up. promise you.
Yeah.
Jevon, you have been so gracious so gifted towards us here listening to this podcast. And I can't wait for everyone that I know, all my friends, to connect with you and just get hold of their dreams.
Yes.
To truly believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you have spreading more life than we ever know. And the legacy that you carry, even as a ghostwriter, sometimes you don't get your name in those words, but you put it there. But I have to say, the legacy that you leave is beyond you can ever count.
Yeah.
And that's the gift that you are giving so freely to the world. You being so generous in doing this and everything. And you are a doctor of the brain. You are a doctor. If you put together, you really are. You're organized. You put in some medicine when it needs to. You're doctor of the brain, and but you also are such a beautiful worshiper. That's your other side. You have so many creators channels, right? And you and Real is such an amazing musicians, and oh my gosh, there's so much to just transparent and be out in the world that I am so excited for people to just connect with you. And I'm so appreciate that you took the time to come and share all these goodies, all this amazing information with our listeners. I really appreciate you. Is there anything else you want to say before we go?
Not really. I think, one of the things I love what you're doing here, and I just encourage creatives to really consider this. One of the things about our work as creatives is there's a portion of it that requires us to be alone. That requires us to kind of do so much on our own. And it can become such a lonely pursuit.
Yes.
I challenge you to reach out and find community, find the community that ministers to you, find the community that supports you and encourages you, that gives you life, and invest into that community. Give and receive in that community, so that, number one, of course, that you have the support that you need, so that you're not feeling like you're alone, so that you can deal with the rejection, because we're idea people. We come up with 150 million ideas a day. I don't know, I exaggerated. But, but all of those ideas don't go, and they don't get accepted. And we just need a community to be with, to hear that you are awesome. You can do it. This is who you are, continue, keep going. So I just encourage you to do that. I do have a writing community that I have created, just a container to drop people in, to support. I do live coaching, I do workshops within the group. So if you're writing, or if you're looking for a community that has that is spirit inspired, you can look for Pneuma Writers. Pneuma. Pneuma as in breath and life. So please join us.
And can you say here, what is your website?
Yes, my website is jevonbolden.com. JEVONBOLDEN.com.
Amazing. And all this will be in the show notes. So we're going to have all that. Jevon, thank you so much.
Thank you, Rebeca.
You're such a joy, and I can't wait to see you.
Yes, thank you. I've got to get to Colorado. Thank you.
And I'm coming to Florida to see you. I'll tell you more. I'll tell you more about that in a bit. All right. Thank you.
I love that so much.
Thank you. You're awesome.
All right. Take care.
Touch the scars and feel that they don't hurt anymore. I kiss and the affection from someone who's always been there.